I'd like to call this April 27th, 2023 Board of Education regular meeting to order. George, can you take the roll?
Mrs. Bissell?
Here.
Mrs. Cobain?
Here.
Mr. Miko?
Here.
Ms. Stochek?
Here.
Mrs. Hausum?
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda are our district goals. Academic achievement and growth is the district's #1 goal and is balanced against financial prudence. Helping with both goals is community engagement. All the board's decisions are measured against these 3 goals. And I'd like to highlight tonight that Strongsville City Schools has been honored with the Best Communities for Music Education designation from the National Association of Music Merchants Foundation for its outstanding commitment to music education. This is the 10th straight year for the district. Strongsville is one of 830 school districts nationwide, one of 47 districts in Ohio, and one of just 17 school districts in Northeast Ohio to receive this prestigious award. Congratulations to our entire community, and thank you to the teachers, students, parents, and booster clubs for their continued support of our outstanding music program. With that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Ryba for recognitions.
Thank you, Ms. Hausum. We have a variety of recognitions tonight, and we're going to start with Ms. Kilbane and Ms. Stochek with our OSBA Student Achievement Awards for this month.
If Dr. Razzo could come up, because she's the one who nominated. This is a special award for me because we do this every month, and I never know who they're going to pick. But this month, when I looked, it was my grandson. And I want Sally to say a little bit about where he came from and how he grew. And the family at Sarar did this for him, and I can't be more thankful to her and all the staff, and especially his teacher, who is Mrs. Masenchik. I forget, there's so many of them.
Do you want to tell your story?
Okay. So I really was really scared to join my old school, and so I was really scared, and I then came it, my fear, and now I just go to school and I'm happy. And I used to be so sad when I went to my old school because it I always was just sad. So this school, I really think that it's a little bit better than my old one, and they yeah. Yeah, I did say that. Could I say it? So I found somebody, and I go to her every time I'm scared or something. Her name, she's no. She's a psychologist at the school. Her name is Miss Faluda. I want to thank everybody for helping me, and yeah, so
And I just want to say that your classmates were so proud of you when you were given the award, and they all cheered for you and stood up for you, right? And he read everything on the award all by himself to us in front of his entire class. And he said, I remember it stuck with me, you said at your old school, you had the sniffles, and people were making fun of other people and with the sniffles, right? And here, you can be yourself, right? Even if you have the sniffles. And it makes you unique. Yep. We all get the sniffles sometimes.
You can come and take a picture.
So when he first came, Mom had emailed me in August asking if we had a spot for him because he was going to school crying every day and wouldn't eat lunch and had a lot of fears to overcome. So I explained to her how we make sure that we all have a safe person to talk to and to go to every day to check in. And within the first week, Cruz was invited to his first birthday party. And now Cruz just told me he had a girlfriend. So we'll be talking about that.
Actually, I'm dating.
He's dating. Okay. So we'll be talking about that because that wasn't part of our morning meeting. No. We have a little bit more to discuss, but he is dating now and has overcome a lot of fears, and he now doesn't need anyone to meet him in the morning, and his brother doesn't have to walk him to class. So he has developed a lot of strategies to help work through his day, and we are super proud of how far he has come.
You sound like you're pretty confident right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was so confident he wanted to talk to you guys about all of his growth this year.
Yeah, you were first. You want to shake everybody's hand?
Congratulations on that very well-deserved recognition. And let's continue on with recognizing some of our other outstanding students. And I'm going to turn it over to Denny Ziegler, our athletic director, to get us started this evening. Denny?
Thank you, Dr. Iba. It's always an honor to recognize our student athletes for all the efforts and time that they put in, not only to their practices, but their schoolwork, as well as their competitions. And our first group is probably one of our better programs here in the school. Our boys swim team, in their 4 years, some of these guys here went 48-1 in a dual meet schedule. Their only loss was to Rocky River last year, who was a D2 state runner-up team. So at this time, I want to bring up Mr. Tom Stacy, who will talk about our boys and girls swimming and diving team.
Hi, thank you everyone for having us. Always appreciate the recognition for these kids. They work so hard. This is a wonderful thing for them to just be able to be recognized in front of everybody. I just want to, for me, there's so much support in the community and so much support our program gets. So I want to thank people. The Rec Center, to thank Patty Welker, our aquatics director, for just being very supportive when I ask and need something. She does a great job of helping us out. Sometimes that's a meet change, or it's just pool time, or it's the ability to have certain equipment on the deck or something. So I want to thank her. I want to thank Bill, the principal. He's so supportive. He's so personal. You just feel very connected, and I feel like that makes me feel very warm, and I know the kids feel the same way. Denny always pushes us to be better. He pushes us to use more resources and do the best we can for our kids, so I want to thank him. Also want to thank my coaching staff, diving coach Julia Pedisano, Melissa Coughlin, Brianna Costanzo, and Sydney Mayberry for all the hard work they do to put into our program to help these kids be successful. And these kids, they're outstanding. I've known them for a long time. Ashley only a couple years, but Ashley's amazing, our diver. The swimmers, I've coached some of them since they were, I don't know, very young. So I feel very connected, and I love this community, and I love the connection that we have, and I'm very proud of them for their accomplishment on obviously making the state competition. So I'm going to recognize them each one at a time. If you guys could come up when I call your name. First, Nick Begani, he's a senior. Nick was, this year, he's our school record holder in the 200 IM and 100 breaststroke. He was All-Ohio in 3 events this year, including getting 7th in the 100 breaststroke. So very proud of Nick. Congratulations, Nick. Sophomore Owen Weiss. Owen qualified for the state meet in the 500 and the 200 free relay this year. Senior Gibson Painter, he qualified in the 200 medley relay and was All-Ohio and the 200 freestyle relay. Senior Ashley McNamara, in her second year of diving, was All-Ohio, which is extremely impressive, just making the state meet, but then also getting All-Ohio. So congratulations, Ashley. Senior Conlon Mayberry. Conlon qualified in the 200 medley relay and 200 freestyle relay and was All-Ohio in the medley relay. Senior Gabe Griffiths. Gabe qualified in the 200 medley relay and 200 freestyle relay and was All-Ohio in the 200 medley relay. Senior Carrie Gavigan. Carrie was an individual state qualifier in the 50 freestyle this year. Sophomore Estelle Friedrich. Estelle qualified for the state meet in the 500 freestyle this year. So again, I'm very, very proud of all of them for all the hard work they put in over the years. I'm also very grateful for all their parents for putting in a lot of hard work as well. It's a big community effort, and just thank you everybody for recognizing these swimmers and divers. Thank you. Oh, guys, picture? Well, yeah, we'll get a picture first, sorry. Well, we're already over here. Don't have to come all the way back.
Our athletes, they can't walk back over there afterwards.
Our next group of student athletes, I want to bring up Coach Brianna Kloon. I know that Coach Jen could not be here, but Coach Brianna is our assistant girls gymnastics coach, and she wants to recognize 2 very special athletes as well.
Tonight, I'm honored to have been asked to recognize two of our outstanding student athletes in the sport of gymnastics. Unfortunately, Jen couldn't be here today, so I'm glad that I could be here and honor them. The 2 gymnasts we have are junior Emma Hahn and sophomore Gianna Upchurch. Both athletes were consistent team leaders and combined to win over 20 event titles during the regular conference team season. So first, I'd like to recognize Emma Hahn. She was a conference champion She was a conference champion on the uneven bars and a first-time all-conference team member. She was a district qualifier in 5 events: team, bars, beam, vault, and all-around, and was named all-district team. At this state meet, Emma competed in the all-around, bars, and beam competition, finishing 28th in all-around, 24th on beam, and 11th on bars. Next is sophomore Gianna Upchurch. She returned to the state championship meet again on the bars competition, and she finished 11th. Gianna was a GCC conference runner-up in the bars and district qualifier in bars, floor, and all-around competition, and both an all-conference team member and an all-district team member. I also want to thank just our parents and the Strongsville staff this year who've been just super awesome working with us, and being a sport that's outside of the school and getting us recognized has been really awesome.
And our last student recognition, if I could bring up Cal Cleansing. For those of you that don't know, Strongsville for the past 3 years has been part of the LLS Student Visionaries of the Year program. And it's a 7-week philanthropic campaign where student leaders from across Northeast Ohio from 31 different schools combine to raise funds for the LLS. And as a chair of that group, I am proud that for the last 3 years, Strongsville students have finished in the top 3 for students who have raised the most money for the LLS. This year, as a whole, 31 schools raised over $875,000 for the LLS campaign. Cal is a junior basketball player. He was this year's nominee. Cal had a big task. He had to essentially assemble a team of students, adults, and he had to do it during the heart of an entire basketball season. So a 7-week campaign runs from the middle of January through March. So a lot of what Cal did not only was his schoolwork, it wasn't basketball, but it seemed like every single weekend there was a fundraiser going on that Cal was in charge of. Cal was very honored to finish second this year in all of the 31 schools that were participating, and Cal alone, as a second place finisher, raised $94,000 for the LLS Student Visionaries of the Year program. That is more than what Strongsville students raised last year. Last year, our student team raised about $88,000. Our goal is to break the century mark next year. It is something that we as a athletic department strive for. It is given back to the community that gives us so much. And I am honored to recognize Cal for his efforts in raising $94,000 this year for the LLS campaign. Congratulations, Cal.
Can I just say one
I just really want to say thank you. It was an amazing experience for Cal. He has gotten a few job offers from the Strongsville community, and Rotary really wants him to join a little bit down the road too. But we had great support from the school district. Laura Housen was on our team and was amazing. Mr. Wingler, Mr. Ziegler, and we had Mrs. Blackman at the middle school, and it really was a community effort. Our smallest donation was $1, and our biggest was $10,000. But there were a whole bunch in between there, and I personally just really feel like one of the most important things is teaching my kids to know that part of their purpose is to help others. And so I hope we continue the tradition. If you guys are younger, it's a great opportunity, and you really are making, like, you probably are saving somebody's life. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And Mr. Wingler just was amazing. He was we had a staff versus student game. I mean, all these things, the kids raised $4,000. And we had a dance, we raised $5,000. We had the Harlem Wizards, we raised $16,000. So it was amazing, but we had volunteers from NHS, student council. It was just such a community effort. It really, I just want to say thank you. Cal, you want to say?
Sure. Yeah, it was a great experience being part of the Student Vision of the Year program this year. Again, I would like to thank everyone who helped me. Yeah, we did a lot of great things, and you know, it was awesome to get second place, and it was awesome to know that, you know, what me and the rest of the Strongsville community did and the funds that we raised are going to help a lot of people. So I thank all of you. Thank you.
Well, congratulations to our Extra Mile Award winner today, our swimming and diving team, our gymnastics team, and Cal for your amazing efforts for everybody. Very proud of you, and congratulations to all of you on a great season and a great school year. So congratulations once again to everybody. Before we turn it over to public comment, we do have one more employee that we would like to highlight, so she can go on and have the rest of her evening. But I'm going to turn it over to Jenny Pelko, who's going to share a new hire that we have recommended on the agenda for the board's consideration.
Thank you, Dr. Ryba. So in addition to all of us probably sitting up here and the important roles we play, this is probably one of the most important role in our district. It's the coordinator of payroll and benefits. So making sure that we all get paid accordingly is really, really important. And I'd like to introduce Lauren Usick, who is our new coordinator of payroll and benefits. Lauren, if you want to come up to the podium here, we'll let you say a few words, but I'll turn it over to George. He was part of the entire interview process, and I would like him to say a few words about Lauren.
Yeah, so we're excited to have Lauren start. Lauren's replacing, we're filling the position because of retirement. Ruth Ann Franzak, who's been here for a while, is retiring. So we put the position out there. We had over 30 candidates apply. We interviewed about 13 candidates. Through that, we found Lauren. We were impressed with her background. I think she's going to fit right in and fill Ruth Ann's shoes. She currently works for Marks, who she handles payroll and benefits for 6,000 plus employees. So it'll be hopefully a smooth transition to hit the ground running, and we're excited to have her start on Monday. So welcome aboard, Lauren.
Okay. I just want to say thank you so much. I mean, I grew up in Strongsville. I graduated from the high school, so this is kind of surreal. But I'm very appreciative, and I'm really just so excited to start on Monday, you know, hit the ground running, and I'm excited to learn from all of you. So, thanks for being here.
Congratulations and welcome aboard.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yep.
You dressed up.
Congratulations, Lauren.
For everything.
Yeah, see you Monday.
Now is a great time if anyone needs to go.
Whoa. It's amazing how many people leave, isn't it?
Single file line. Right. No pushing and shoving.
Can I just say one more thing really quick? Everyone, before you leave, I just forgot to mention Dan Faust was also like on our team and amazing and held my hand through the entire Harlem Wizard event.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Next on the agenda is public comment. We have two residents that would like to approach the podium. If you could approach, state your name and your address, and you have approximately 3 minutes, and we will start with Bonnie Tennis.
Hello, my name is Bonnie Tennis. I live at 9407 Bradford Lane in Strongsville. And last time I brought to attention to this Board of Education about the kindergarten, how important it is to have full-day kindergarten for everyone, not only for the well-to-do, because the other ones, because they can't afford it, they can't put the children in a full-time kindergarten, which is actually crucial to have equity or whatever, equal education. Today, I would like to mention the subgroups. I did some looking into the report cards, and I understand we have a lot of good students, and we have, we excelling in areas, but I'm looking for the areas that need some improvements and need some attention. So I looked through all the report cards starting 2007, and what I've noticed that some groups, which is the student groups, are doing well in Strongsville and some of them are not. So, and it's consistent. It's not like, 1 year would be doing well, another year something happened because COVID or whatever, then it would be lower. So if we look at just two groups, especially the Black non-Hispanic, I compared with Solon. We only have a little bit over 100 students, Black students. And Solon has over 700, and now they have over 500. And all of them are hitting close to 80% the proficiency or higher. Now, in our school, over the years, since 2007, there was not a one hit that would hit 80%, and we only have over 100 students. We should be paying attention to it. It's very important. We should not be only caring about the other groups like Asian groups or others because they're scoring high. So like I said, I came from the family, alcoholic. My father was in prison. I had some things, and I had 2 kids in this school, and I had to fight to get them through some advanced programs. And I worked full-time. I didn't have time even to come to meetings. So now I do, so I would like to speak up a little bit, and I have time to do a little research to see what this school needs to improve, what this district needs to pay attention a little bit more to improve it. Because we all paying property tax, and we all would like to pay, but we would like to pay and make sure that everybody gets a good education, and that's what's important. So I looked at the economic disadvantaged group and Black non-Hispanic, and it's only 120 Black non-Hispanic. And right now, this year of 22, they're hitting 49.6% mark. Proficiency in math. Now, in English, if you look at it, it's not any better. Now we have economic disadvantages, 59.8. That's very low. And if you go through history from 2007, we never hit never hit 80. And that's kind of concerned. Now, another thing is the gifted. I understand the gifted should be renamed. It should not be gifted. Whatever should be named like the, but what I've noticed is I don't know what the problem is. If it's the kids not hitting 95% mark on test because 95 or higher, it's identified as gifted. So if you look at the printouts that I provided, Strongsville used to have in 2005 35% students that were identified as gifted. I understand the gifted was not, the education not provided for all of them, but we're talking about identifying, meaning that students are getting a good education because they're hitting high marks. Although I don't care about the gifted being a value, put it above, any other group. That I don't like. And, but you see that it's going down, and it still went down based on this Strongsville quality profile from this year. The number went down to 15.8% from 35%. Now, that means that kids are not hitting that 95% mark. That's what it means to me. And now, if you look at Solon, in 2005, Solon had 10% only, and right now they have 36%. So they're going up, and someone could say, well, it's the money issue. Well, we do have literacy coaches now. We have 5 of them. We have, like you spoke at the gifted, not meeting, but some, whatever that was. You said that we have gifted intervention specialists in every school. We also have gifted coordinator. And yet, we're going down with numbers. So I don't know. Now, we're making progress because based on new report card, yeah, you make a progress. But progress doesn't mean maybe we're hitting the mark. It's like Ms. Aaron said one day that maybe we not, or whatever, teaching the level of certain subjects that we should. And but this is my concern, and I see that it's going down. And then another problem is, not problem, but I've noticed that Strongsville School in 2014, since the numbers for gifted going down, but the money for the gifted is going up. So we have only 16% or 15% now, but we're spending twice as much on gifted as we spent on 2014. So the money is going somewhere, but it's maybe allocated in a place that we have to look into and see where we can put it. It's like today on agenda is increasing $20,000 for cheerleading. Now, $20,000, you could hire half-time substitute teacher that could help that black or disadvantaged children to learn how to read or math. That's a lot of money that we're putting into cheerleading. It's like at home, if you put something, you wouldn't put it in going out to dinner or Disney World if you know you have other problems or other things that would need attention. So that's what I'm looking for. Like I said, I have time, and I'm looking into it because I did have 2 children in the school, and I did have to fight to get them in any advanced programs. And I did get my son in advanced program, but then went to counselor in high school, gave him, advice to get some kind of course, and he was behind his friends for 4 years, and he hated the school, and he was depressed, and he was very upset. But he was a very good student in middle school, but in high school got really messed up. And the other son that I had, I was told that he wasn't, he wanted to take calculus. He was discouraged, and yet he's got a math degree. So, by saying that, some child is not capable or not, maybe needs a little push, and, not necessarily the hug, because hugs are not always important. I had a teacher that, okay, just one little sentence here. I had a teacher that gave me advice, okay? I was an A student when I was a kid, and I was crying because I got an F. And a teacher could come and hug me and say, oh, it's going to be okay next time. And she told me that student without an F, it's like soldier without a gun. From that time, I never worried about it. So it depends on the advice and depends the push that we give to our kids. So that's my attention for today.
Thanks, Bonnie. Next, Heather Cappy.
Hi, everybody. Heather Cappy. I live at 19940 Kyle Moore Drive, Strongsville. I just wanted to address, I know that Strongsville has a zero tolerance for any bullying, anything, but I have learned otherwise. My son and his girlfriend got jumped at Strongsville High School. Videos, cameras, 90% of Strongsville has seen this. But everybody has. I'm sure all of you guys have. But my problem is why are these kids still in school if there is a zero tolerance? They literally have assault charges on them, but they are still in school. You have to change their class schedules so that they don't come in contact with my son or his daughter. They should not be in school. My son gets to escort his girlfriend to and from class because he has to protect her from getting jumped by the girls that are still in school. If you have zero tolerance, why are these kids still in school? They don't even get to eat lunch in the school cafeteria. They have to eat lunch in teachers' rooms. That's not zero tolerance. I mean, of course, I'm heated, I'm upset, but that should not happen. I've had to have my house security cameraed beyond belief. We have had the cops sit on our house because, yes, the girls got suspended for their 10 days. They're back in school. They're still dealing with all of this. My son's girlfriend is leaving your school district because she's afraid to be in Strongsville City Schools. I don't get where the zero tolerance is in this, because not one part of that is zero tolerance. That is, you get a slap on the wrist and you get to go back to school. You get to sit on your couch in your PJs for 10 days. You think those girls care? No. They thought it was a vacation. So I just, the zero tolerance thing to me is, I just want to address that because clearly it's not happening. There are police records, there are school records, there are everything records, and these girls are still in school and still harassing my son and his daughter, who can't even eat lunch in a school cafeteria. That should not be happening. Like, point blank. They should not be afraid to walk the halls, and they're not bad kids. It was all because of high school drama. My son is in all of your guys' programs, and he's not a bad kid. It's all because of high school drama, but the zero tolerance thing is not happening. And I just wanted to address that because I don't agree with it, and it's getting old. And that's it.
Are they still doing this at school? Are they still harassing?
Yes. My son and his daughter still have to eat lunch in teachers' rooms. They don't eat because some of the few girls that didn't get suspended that actually did physically touch them are still harassing them. The ones that got suspended are actually kind of backing off, but now they don't do it in school, and they've actually smartened up and stopped posting their 9,000 pictures on social media, and now they're doing it just in person. So that's why my son has to escort his girlfriend to and from class, because clearly you've all seen the videos, they just attack from behind. And some of the kids in the videos were actually arrested that week for doing the same thing at the mall. So these kids don't care. Where's the zero tolerance at school? That's it. That's all I got.
So a couple things. It's not a dialogue, so you can go back and have a seat. Thank you. I just wanted to share some information in terms of policy and procedures and what is followed. So just to be clear, we do not have a zero tolerance policy as a district. It doesn't exist. It hasn't existed for a handful of years. And so not saying we tolerate behavior of assault or bullying, but the zero tolerance is a terminology that was many years ago that basically said if kids did things in this vein of violation, they would be automatically suspended. It never meant that students would never return to school. So just the first point of clarification is our district does not have a zero tolerance policy. However, there are behaviors that are not acceptable to us that we address according to our code of conduct. Secondly, per law and board policy, we are not permitted as a school district to just kick kids out, even if they violate the code of conduct. So school principals have the ability to suspend students for a maximum of 10 days. I'm not going to talk about specific student discipline here in a public forum. You've mentioned what you believe happened to these young people, but they can be removed for a maximum of 10 days. There's also the ability to recommend for expulsion. Expulsion, again, is for a specified period of time that students could be removed from the school setting and then return when that time is up. Again, the most that, and it's a very specific criteria, it's for violent acts and not violence in terms of weapons, having weapons on school property. It's a year that you could remove a student from the school setting. So you look at buildings can at most remove students for 10 days. If they recommend expulsion, I have the authority to remove a student for certain behaviors up to 80 days. And then if a student brings a weapon, a firearm onto school property, then I have the ability to go for up to a year. And so what I would suggest is anytime, I'm aware of this situation and what happened. To my knowledge, the students that were involved in this, the consequences were enacted, the behavior has changed in terms of school. If there's other kids that are doing things, then please continue to communicate with the administration. Here's a frustrating part I understand from you as a parent perspective, and it's frustrating for us as a school district personnel. We do not have the authority to control what students do off of our school property. And so when they leave on social media or text or in person, there's nothing we can do to control that. And the standard from the courts of how that can influence school, unfortunately, it means that something was said outside of school or something was put on social media outside of school, and that student comes in and there's a physical altercation. It just can't be, hey, this could cause a disturbance. It actually has to manifest into a disturbance. So my heart goes out to you as parents, and I'm a parent as well of high school kids, and I understand the challenges that we have in high school and middle school of what goes on outside on social media, and what we do get involved in. We can't issue consequences, but what we do get involved in is mediating with the kids. If we know something is happening via social media or otherwise outside of school, we do get involved. We talk to the students. We share our expectations. We involve the parents to say, hey, do you know your child is doing this? And we would ask for your support to get them to stop. But we can't suspend, we can't remove, we can't expel for things that don't happen on school property. Our authority is confined to school events, school things. So what I would suggest to you, yes, and that assault was dealt with in terms of the consequences that were given, and from all the information that was shared with me, the people that were involved in that assault have not retaliated or done anything else on school property. If that's not the case, please call high school administration. If you're not happy with high school administration, please call me, and we'll continue to work together and problem solve, because we have the shared goal, right? We want your children to come to school to be able to go through their day, whether it's lunch or classes, without fear of other things happening. So if there's new things happening that we're not aware of, please contact the high school administration. If you feel that you're not getting satisfaction with that, then contact me and we'll work together, okay?
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Is the administration aware that your son is chaperoning his girlfriend around classes? Yes. They are? Okay. Can we get a listing of what's qualifications for expulsion versus suspension versus charges pending?
There's no list. It's, the list is, here's the violation of the code of conduct. So it would have to relate to the code of conduct. And then it's a meeting with the parent and the student. And then it's based on all of those scenarios there's a past behavior infractions, student needs, family needs, et cetera. Then the decision is mine to make as superintendent. So there's not a scripted list. This gets you expelled, this doesn't get you expelled. It's, did you violate the code of conduct? Did you violate it repeatedly, that it's progressive? Or did you violate it in terms of severity to where you get recommended for expulsion?
Does your son have to leave class early to escort her places? Is he a minor? Yeah. Okay. And there's no administrator that's escorting her? They're having a minor child do that? Okay.
I don't think we're not directing a child to escort another child between classes. that's something that I think is better. We can talk and see the details of what's going on, but it's not like the high school is saying, hey, we need to have this child escort this other child. That's not a high school direction that's been given.
I think that needs to be looked into then.
We will look into that, and one of us will contact Mrs. Cappy. We'll get back to you.
Yeah.
All right. All right, we'll move on. Next up, approval of minutes. Everyone should have received the minutes in your email. Motion to approve the minutes from March 9th, 2023 and March 23rd, 2023. All district video and audio recordings will be a permanent part of the minutes. Next up, George.
Thank you, Mrs. Hausum. A few items for your consideration tonight. The first being the financial report for the month ended March 31st, 2023. I do have the supplemental report that I usually do along with it to quickly go over. So far, year-to-date revenues compared to the November forecast are trending about $1.7 or $1.8 million higher than the forecast. And as we'll see in the next section, the increases are due. We had our March was our last property tax settlement for the fiscal year. So that was about $694,000 higher. Overall, that represents about 1% of the total of annual taxes collected. Interest rates, with the increasing interest rate throughout the year, we're looking to end about $455,000 higher in interest. Earlier in December, January, around the time frame, we had the property tax settlements that we received, about $386,000, and then also the state revenue increased by $240,000 after I did the forecast. So that's what primarily makes up that increase of $1.8 million. Expenditures are trending about $93,000 higher compared to the forecast, which ultimately between the two would net into a favorable impact of $1.7 million to the cash balance of the forecast. Month to date, from March of last year to March of this year, revenues are about $3.9 million higher. The primary increase is due to the tax collections. This year there was a delay in tax collections compared to last year from when the county administrated them. So the January was slightly less, February was slightly less, and now the final settlement in March is slightly higher. And then also last year there was a larger refund that was reduced from our taxes due to the mall. With the sell of the mall and the tax complaint that they had. So last year's were a little lower because of that as well. Year to date, looking at July through March of this year compared to July and March of last year, revenues are about $3.6 million higher, and again, it's primarily due to property taxes. The collections were a little higher, and then also the large refund, which was about $2.5 million from last year as well, which lowered last year. And then, as I mentioned earlier, how it's impacting the forecast, about $1.8 million. Any questions on revenues? All right. Expenses, looking at March of last year compared to March of this year, expenses were about $252,000 higher. Year to date, from July to March of this year compared to July to March of last year, we're about $3.6 million higher based on the categories listed. And then how it's impacting the forecast. Overall, we have savings in salaries and benefits of $525,000, and then all other expenses are about $588,000 higher, so it nets between $93,000 overall. So we have 3 more months. We're really for reporting 3 more months, but closing out April in a few days, and then we have May and June to close out the fiscal year. And then in May, we'll have an updated 5-year forecast as well, as we're required to do and file with the state. Any questions? All right, so moving on to grant approval. We do have one SEF grant for Muraski Elementary for flexible seating of $451.71. We have a student activities budget program revision for fiscal year 23. This is for high school cheerleading from $26,000 to $46,000. And just to be clear, this is from their student activity account, which is made up of fundraising dollars by the program, and there's no general fund dollars that's going into this account. It's funds that the program has raised to be used by the program. And the increase is going to pay for $15,000 summer camp at Mount Union for cheer camp, and uniforms and outfits for the upcoming season for about $7,000. The next item, which requires individual vote, we had talked about this at a work session a few months ago, but it's establishing the 070 Facilities Capital Projects Fund, and it will be used to establish, the resolution, establishing a Facilities Capital Projects Fund under the revised code section 5705.13C, directing the posting of investment interest from that fund to that fund, then authorizing a transfer from the general fund of $25 million to be used in the fund. And then the purpose of it, known as the Facilities Capital Projects Fund, for the purpose of accumulating resources for the project, namely the acquisition, construction, renovation, installation, improvement, and equipping the school district preschool, elementary schools, middle school, and high school facilities. And then the money, the way the fund works, as a reminder, the funds could sit in this account for 10 years, and if they're not acted upon, then they would have to go back to the original source. And then at that time, once they go back, it could be renewed through a new resolution or redirected. Then at any time, if the funds are still there within that 10-year period, and if it's needed through board resolution, we can rescind the fund. So any questions on that, or?
As George stated, that requires a separate vote, so do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Stavcek, second by Mrs. Kilbane. Any discussion? George, take the roll.
Ms. Stavcek?
Yes.
Mrs. Kilbane?
Yes.
Mr. Micko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
All right. The next item is amended appropriations. Be it resolved upon the recommendation that the treasurer that amend the permanent appropriations for fiscal year 23 be approved, and the changes to the appropriation measure are as follows: $25 million to the general fund to transfer to the 070 fund. Bond retirement and capital improvement funds, slight increases there based on the tax collections. There's tax collections that go in those funds too, and with that there's county auditor fees, and those were slightly higher than what I had estimated in that count, so increasing those for the county auditor fees. Other grants, the $451 for the SCF grant. Student Activities Fund, $20,000 based on the cheerleading. And then also there was a federal grant, Title III, that was a reallocation at the state level of a reduction of $6,000. Any questions on that? All right. Moving on to the next item is the tax rate resolution. This is an annual item. If you recall back from the organizational meeting, annually we do the tax budget, which shows the need of the county for levying the taxes. Once that's sent in, the county then prepares the tax rate resolution, which they send back to us to approve through resolution, and then this will be the tax rates. For next year, it's the total tax rate, not the effective tax rate. The county will set the effective tax rate closer in November, December for the upcoming year. And then the last item, which requires an individual vote, this is the resolution to renew the existing 5.9 mil levy that was originally passed in 2019. It's hard to believe we're already at the end of that 5-year cycle. This is the last tax year that it's in effect, and there's a tax year, then the collection year is following the tax year. So this is the last tax year. Next year will be the last collection year. So this November will be our first ability to go back on the ballot for it. And then if it doesn't pass by next November of 2024, then the levy expires. And then the way this works is 2 resolutions. Resolution number 1, which is on the agenda tonight, goes to the county to be certified for the value. The county sends it back with the value of the renewal levy, and then we present it back to the board for another board vote. If it passes, then that authorizes us to go to the Board of Elections and put on the ballot. Just to be clear, this resolution requires 3 affirmative votes. The second resolution requires a supermajority of 4 affirmative votes. So,
And just to reiterate, it's a resolution declaring it necessary to renew an existing 5.9 mil tax levy for the purpose of current expenses and requesting the Cuyahoga County Fiscal Officer to make certain certifications pursuant to Section 5705.03 and 5705.21 of the revised code. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Stavcek, second by Mrs. Kilbane. Are there any questions or discussion? Hearing none. George, can you take the roll?
yep. Ms. Stavcek?
Yes.
Mrs. Cobain?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you, George. All right, we will turn it back over to Dr. Ryba.
Thank you, Ms. Hausum. I do have one discussion item, which is a continuation of our last few meetings where we've discussed the elementary space constraints. So one of the things that we've taken a look at, and we've made some decisions over the last few meetings, is that we would convert the stage at Kinsner to be a classroom that could be used for music and band and orchestra, and that we would centralize half-day kindergarten. Specifically, we would not have half-day kindergarten at Kinsner next year. Those students would go to Chapman and Moraski, and we would not have half-day kindergarten at Sarar. Those students would go to Whitney. So today, the discussion is about mobile units. That's the last thing that was on the list we've been taking a look at for mobile units. So based on all of that, I've put together this last page of the sheet and just wanted to walk everybody through it before turning it back over to the board for discussion. So again, Chapman Elementary School is going to get 2 new sections, 2 new grade levels next school year. If we don't make any changes next school year, what that means is in that first column, that Title I and small group supports would be in the media center, band, orchestra would be on the stage, and art and music would be on the cart, or they would have the option to use the media center. The only option we have at Chapman that's left to address space constraints is a mobile unit. So if a mobile unit was purchased for Chapman, what that would provide is gifted math would go into the mobile unit. Title I and small group intervention space would also go into the mobile unit. And somebody would be on a cart, either art or music, and they would have the option to share a room or use the media center. So they've got multiple options to pick from to address that since a room would be freed up. The reason band and orchestra on the stage is highlighted in green, that's just noted even if we get a mobile unit, band and orchestra is still going to be on the stage. Okay. Kinsner, we've talked about last time, all we can do is place half-day kindergarten in another building and convert the stage. Last meeting, I had consensus to move forward with that, so those changes are there. We've discussed them, so I'm going to move on from that. Moraski, if we make no changes, that means next year all music would be on a cart. What all music means is the full-time music teacher and the traveling music teacher would be both on a cart. Traveling art would be in the media center. Gifted math is in the principal's office. Now, principal's office sounds really small, but the principal's office there is an old classroom, and it's about 3/4 of a classroom, and so that it fits fine. And then in the media center, there's actually 2 spaces, a large space and a still sizable space, but a smaller space. And currently, intervention specialists provide supports there for 4th and 5th grade students. If a mobile unit was provided at Moraski, that would give music a classroom. Traveling art and music would be in the media center or cart. We would place gifted math in the mobile unit, and interventions and intervention specialists for 4th and 5th grade would be in the mobile unit. Moving on to Sarar. Sarar and Moraski, I failed to mention, but Moraski is not experiencing any increased sections next year. It's the same as this year, same as Sarar. If we make no changes to Sarar, music would be on a cart. Gifted math would be in the media center. There'd be shared spaces for intervention specialists, elimination of a sensory room, and band and orchestra would be in the media center. We've already made the decision to centralize half-day kindergarten, so they've freed up a room. So what that's provided is music will now have a classroom next year at Sarar. And band and orchestra would be in the media center, plus the music room when that room is available. You do have the option for a mobile unit at that building as well. I just didn't, it would provide, really gifted math and interventions would go out into the mobile unit like is proposed for other buildings. Gifted math at Sarar is currently in 2 converted offices, so moving that outside doesn't provide any additional usable space inside. It just provides a space instead of the media center. And then Whitney, as we've talked about, they've had a reduction in a section, so there's not space concerns currently at Whitney. Everybody has a classroom, and they can use the additional classroom for small group supports. So with that, I'm going to turn over to you, Ms. Hausum, for the board to have a discussion in terms of next steps with the conversation regarding mobile units.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Ryba.
Mm-hmm.
Who would like to start? Does anyone have any questions?
For Sarar, do we know how often the sensory room is used or the effect that would have? How many students?
The sensory room used to be its own dedicated space, and then due to space constraints, it's been provided in the classroom. So it's utilized on a frequent basis, and more space, more room would be desirable. It's used by our students, but I think for the last year, Andy, I'm looking back at you. Do you know how long it's been since we've not had that sensory space?
I don't know the exact time period, at least a year.
Okay.
1 year?
So it's been 1 year. Yeah.
I do have a question. I am looking at the gifted math and band and orchestra all being in the library at SRAR. Have we confirmed that there are enough hours in the day so that those don't overlap?
Yes, I've talked with Sally, and so if you take a look, and I may be a little off of, as I understand it, so our encore classes, our specials are 45 minutes, and they all follow a very similar rotation. So they're all scheduled at the same kind of 45-minute cadence. Because Sarar has a multi-purpose room that is used as a gym and a cafeteria, that means that certain hours of the day during the lunch periods, there's no specials going on, art, music, or PE. And so what that means is that the music room has availability during that time. So as long as the time when band and orchestra would come to Sarar stays consistent with what it is this year, we believe that the availability for band would be predominantly in the music room, and that the media center would be an overflow if needed or if the schedule changes. So as we know right now, it will all work.
Okay.
So to drill down on that, when you say as long as
Right.
it stays the same, what dominoes could fall that it wouldn't stay the same?
We've had the same band and orchestra schedule for a handful of years. That ties into their intervention enrichment period. And so we've had it for 5th grade at different buildings, the same for years, so we're not planning on any changes. So that would be, I don't know of any changes that would happen right now that would impact that.
I mean, just to be real clear, we're the ones who set that up. So as long as we say we're not going to change that, I can assume that it wouldn't change.
I don't see any reason it would, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm confused. Are we still looking at first graders at Sarar maybe not being able to go to Sarar?
Right, so right now we've got, last I looked, how many?
48 enrolled.
48 enrolled, so.
Room for a few more.
So yeah, we've got room for 2 more to get to there's no hard and fast cap, but we typically don't go over 26, 25 is our guideline. So you have 2 to 4 more students that could attend there without being displaced to other buildings. If we get more than 4, we would have to displace them to other buildings. The other option would be that music is on a cart this year, music would have to go back on a cart to have a room for an additional class section if we saw an influx of students in a grade level where we needed an additional section.
So when would we know that by, though? I mean...
Typically, early August.
August.
Yeah. So the challenge is this is all about when parents decide to enroll their children.
Right.
And so kindergarten to first grade, we see more of an increase than we do in other grade levels. So yes, this is what we know right now. And if the pattern continues from the last couple years, we really don't see it until like the week before school starts is when we get the final registrations.
So if we make a decision, like the last thing I want to do is displace the kids. I just think that's the worst thing on the parents. Although you would think if they had older kids in the school, they would have already enrolled. The next group would be coming up. So I guess it wouldn't be awful, but that would probably be my last choice. I'd rather have, I think, music on a cart than have them go to a different school, because parents depend on that. I mean, that's my personal view. I don't know what everybody else feels, but I just think that is the last thing we want to do. We've already taken half-day kindergarten and split them.
Correct, yes.
So I hate to now we're starting like first grade and then they'll come back, and it's just, it doesn't make sense to me.
So the process we use typically is when we hit that cap, we tell parents that they're on a wait list. We wait until we get probably 1st of August around there, because people do move out during the summer as well. And then at that point, we can see how close are we to that 25, 26 number, or how far are we over it. And there's been times throughout the last couple of years where we've had to add a new section in August. It's not desirable for a variety of reasons, one of them being finding a high-quality teacher 2 weeks before school starts, but we can't overstaff in case kids come. So those are all decisions that we have to factor in. But yes, what you're suggesting is possible.
I know when my kids were younger, we didn't offer a full-day kindergarten, so there was more, I felt like there was more of a enrollment in first grade. Is that lower now that we do offer the full-day kindergarten?
I would say it's pretty average that, the typical who we have in kindergarten roll up and there's not a huge influx. Okay. But like Cameron said, it's just sometimes hard to know who moves in and who moves out, and it's a daily check, starting really now until August, that we're constantly looking at numbers, looking at who's going, who's coming, and Sharon, to your point, we try our very best not to move people, and usually, I would say most of the time it works out nicely, but there have been times where we do have to move a few to different buildings, and then always at the start of the year, we offer them the option to go back, to try, and then we look at our enrollment all over again, so.
I have a couple questions, Jenny. Do you know, if we're talking about potentially moving a couple first graders, like do we have room at the nearest buildings, or are we talking about pushing them all the way over to Chapman?
We do have if it was Sarar, for example, we have plenty of room at Whitney for them to go, so that's not too far. When we kind of look at the Sarar to Whitney or Sarar to Maraski, sometimes there's room. Right now, lots of room at Maraski as well. There's some room at Kinsner and room at Chapman.
Okay. So I guess I just want to make a public service announcement. If you have an incoming kindergartner, please do not wait till August. If you know someone who's going to register an incoming first grader, please do it sooner rather than later. It helps everybody, including your own child.
And to be clear, it's first come, first serve. So you are,
Yes.
a parent is well served to make that decision earlier than later. Cameron, if so, zeroing in on the mobile for Chapman, will it be used the entire day? Because I'm looking at gifted math, and honestly, I don't know if Chapman has however many gifted math you need to fill the day and or the Title I, et cetera.
Yes, so it will be used for the entire day. So as you take a look at it, gifted math is for students in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. They align to the same number of minutes, so that's 80 minutes of math class next year a day. So you're looking at 3 blocks of 80 minutes throughout the school day. And just like any other teacher, the gifted math teacher, there's a duty period, there's special breaks, and so there'll be natural breaks as there would be in any classroom. But yes, that will be used. And I'm not specific on the Chapman numbers. Sometimes there's an extra section that's needed, but it will be used throughout the school day. Title I is something that provides services throughout the entire school day. They have groups. Again, it would be no different than any other classroom servicing students. And then I guess the small group intervention space would be the one that's on an as-needed basis. So that would be the one that would not be a consistent schedule. But gifted math, Title I, would be equated to any other classroom teacher and their frequency of use of space.
And then I was not able to visit. You were able to visit. What's your take
About the units?
about the units?
My only takeaway.
Are they the best double wide you could ever imagine?
The only thing I took away was we could not put music in there, and which was originally our plan, but after hearing the echo in the space, it was very obvious we couldn't do that unless we were doing dual musics, whether that be band or orchestra or music class. So that was my takeaway. I think the rest of these things are fully functional in that unit, unless the gifted math kids are, using the maracas, we'll be all right. And I can see, I was trying to picture in terms of small group intervention, the space is large enough that if we would put tables in the corners or whatnot, that multiple groups could use it without a noise problem, I would say. In terms of accessibility, I asked a lot of questions about, they're all ADA compliant, those kind of things. They're easy exit, entrance options. So obviously there's inconveniences, like there's no restroom, there's no sink, those kind of things. But other than that, I think that what we have lined up in there could be fully functional there.
And just to add on to that, that's also why we came back and decided art wasn't an option, not only due to storage, but sinks and water and things like that. It just didn't seem feasible that was one of the things that was on the earlier list.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I could say from my perspective, the one thing that is identified on this sheet is Chapman is getting 2 extra sections. And so I think they're busting at the seam, or will be busting at the seams, compared to Maraski or Sarrar, and obviously Whitney. So I would like to just shrink all the kids and put them in the existing space. But since I don't hear any other board members saying that's a great idea, I think Chapman, if we feel we can not use them, great, but it seems like the Chapman, a double wide at Chapman might be something that I can support.
One of the things I like about doing one this coming year is twofold. One, we'll get to try it out. But the other is, if some other emergency arises that we didn't anticipate over the summer at another building, we have one rented. Now, there'll be some timing issues in terms of, is it fully operational in the space or not, but I just like we're running up against a deadline of when we can order it to have it in time, and there is, like in most building-related things right now, a shortage of all the things. So knowing that we have one provides me a sense of comfort to say, in an emergency, can we adjust? Yes. And I think it will be well served to plan for Chapman, given the extra classrooms. I have continuing concerns about Sarrar, but I can hold my breath for a year, hopefully.
That's a long time.
Yeah, I've done it before.
I have to agree. When you look at it, it looks like it's doable, be it hard at Sarrar, but the other buildings look like it's doable. I think Chapman, it makes sense. And that gives us a year to, see how it goes. And then if we needed to add on later, we always could.
We don't know anything about security, though. You said that they were going to look into that.
The security in terms of.
As far as they're going to have to leave the building.
Correct.
Well, the whole thing about locking the buildings and everything else, here's what I would do if it was just me. If we're going to put that at Chapman, I don't know where you're going to even where would you put it? can I visualize like where it would be?
I mean, we would have to talk with the building principal and see, but we have a lot of surrounding property, so it'd probably be in the back somewhere.
Okay. You know, I'm looking at it like, I know you don't ever want to look at something like this, but it seems to me that that would be your soft target. You know, the kids have to leave the building, kids have to come in. There's just no telling anymore if someone's going to know, like, oh, you know, we know they leave the building, we know they come back in. So if we're going to do that, then I think then we should have a resource officer there. I know we don't do it now. I've kind of wanted it for all the buildings, and it hasn't happened. But I think then if these kids are going to be leaving this building and coming back in, then we need like some kind of resource officer there, because I think it's a soft target. I think the other schools is, you know, we're always saying lock the doors, lock the doors. And if this is in the back, which I've seen like where they go up to like to play, like they have their, you know, I just have a fear that, you know, it's just not a good thing when you're telling everyone lock the doors, and, you know, how often are they going to be open now? For every class?
The doors are not going to be open. So I think those are great questions. The doors are not going to be open. So what we would have to look at is what door are they going to exit the main building and go to the mobile unit? And Steve, you know, one of the things we've done is we have magnetic locks on specific doors. So that's always locked and opens with our badges. So we would look at, you know, as any class, a teacher would escort the students to the exit door, escort them to the mobile unit, pick them up from the mobile unit. So it wouldn't be like a second, when Jenny and I used to be at center, right? Kids just used to transition classes or other things like that. So they would be escorted. So yes, kids would be leaving the building. They would be supervised as they would leave. The doors to the mobile unit would be locked at all times. The doors to the building would be locked at all times. It would be in a place that would be in close proximity, so there's not, you know, as close as we possibly can to the building. So yes, there's security issues that can't be replicated with a steel-structured mobile unit as compared to a brick and cinder block building. But we would do, you know, kind of work with Chief Fender and the police as we have with other venues to say, what can we do to make this the safest as we possibly can, and take his recommendations. And then in terms of officer presence there, that's for the board to discuss and give guidance on. And, you know, I'd be more than happy to provide an additional update as to recommendations from the police, and then that will give you more information to make those decisions.
But ultimately, it would be I shouldn't say no different, it would be similar to recess. It would be similar to arriving at school and at leaving at school. There are safety concerns, but they're not, in my opinion, they're not new safety concerns. We have those safety concerns, and we address them with all the other things that students do going in and out of the building.
It's just it would be all day long. It wouldn't just be for recess.
No, but what I'm saying is we'd still have adults. We don't let the kids go to recess without monitoring.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Any other comments or questions? So we're all in agreement that Chapman is a good home for a mobile unit? I see some nods, so
Okay.
I think we're good.
Mr. Breckner will start working with the company to go to next steps, and then we'll keep the board informed as we do. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Steve, who's up next with the business services report for the month.
Good evening, everyone. There's one item in this section for your consideration. And it's up on the screen. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the operations manager enters into an agreement between Strongsville City Schools and the Ohio Department of Transportation for the purpose of bidding sodium chloride and rock salt contract to be in effect beginning September 1st, 2023, terminating April 30th, 2024, funding to be from the general fund, supplies, materials for custodial.
Any questions for Steve? Sadly, it's almost May, and we could probably still use some rock salt right now.
It seems like 2 days ago.
Yeah, right?
Did we go through everything that we had this past winter?
No.
I was gonna say, okay.
I will say with this pricing, though, we're locked, it's good, not only we locked into the pricing, but the city has the same pricing. So if we are over, we always stockpile some over at the city. If we're under, then we buy from the city at the same rate. So we don't fluctuate with the market depending on what the market is in September. We're already locked in by that point.
Great,
Thanks, Steve.
thank you.
Next, we'll turn it over to our Director of Curriculum, Erin Green, for her report for this month.
Good evening. We have 6 items tonight for your consideration in the curriculum section. Item 1 is for, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that a textbook be adopted for our AP Environmental Science as presented in the exhibit. The book's been recommended by professional staff and reviewed by citizens. Just as a side note, as the College Board updates or changes their courses, we then have to follow suit. So that's why we have the change here. Item 2 is the Strongsville Middle School Program of Studies. Be it resolved upon the recommendation that of the superintendent that the Strongsville Middle School Program of Studies for the 23-24 school year be approved. Item 3 is for Lexia Core 5 Reading. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that Strongsville City Schools pay to purchase a 1-year Lexia Core 5 Reading and Power Up Literacy unlimited licenses for grades K through 8 at a total cost of $82,800. This is the program that we use, an online program for, as it says, grades K all the way through 8 for all of our students for both our Tier 1 and Tier 2 supplemental instruction in language arts. Item 4 is our Studies Weekly ELA supplement. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that Strongsville City School District pays to purchase Studies Weekly Social Studies for grades K through 5 and Science Studies Weekly for grades K through 2 at a total cost of $41,707.28. We'll be using the K through 5. They are essentially newspapers that the students will use. It ties into our focus of literacy across the curriculum, so they'll be using those for social studies. K through 2 will also use them for science. So that eliminates a book that they'll take home or cart back and forth. They can write in these. They're theirs to keep, so they're really nice, but they are aligned to Ohio standards. We're very excited to get those. Item 5, through the Title IIA Improving Teacher Quality Fund, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that Strongsville City School District pays for teachers to participate in comprehensive Orton Gillingham Plus training at a cost of $1,500 per teacher. So again, this is federal money that we do need to spend. It's an outstanding program that we're sending our teachers to. It is aligned with the science of reading. What it does is give our teachers, especially for small groups and one-on-one, additional interventions and ways to work with students that are multisensory and really meet the needs of struggling readers. And the last item is an out-of-state trip for the Strongsville High School girls varsity soccer team. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that permission be granted to the Strongsville High School girls varsity soccer team to travel to Albuquerque, New Mexico to participate in a competition October 12th through 15th of 2023. Transportation will be via commercial airline and chartered motor coach, expenses paid by participating students and with proceeds from the Strongsville Girls National Soccer Showcase. And that concludes my report.
Any questions for Erin?
Erin, how many teachers do we anticipate taking the Orton Gillingham?
We have over 20, which is also meets part of the dyslexia law. It's a fantastic program that we're involved in.
Can you give us a quick overview of what changed in the middle school course studies?
Yeah, there aren't too many changes. One of note is our 7th grade ELA for the honors ELA 7th grade. It's now going to be 2 separate periods, but with the honors course being more enriched. So instead of just a double block like we've had in the past, you're going to have two essentially separate classes. We're working now with our teachers on how to best utilize that time. So that's the biggest change. I can't think offhand if there were anything else. There's some small changes.
There were a
but-
couple tweaks to the elective courses.
So we added another, seventh grade's a little bit of a challenge because of we want to provide, the double block of ELA. So just looking at electives as well, one of the things is that it is going to be mandatory for them to take art and PE. So they'll have both of those. But one of the challenges is, with the electives and finding enough options for students. So one of the things we're going to try, just to get, some students do like an academic lab. They like that time to get work done and get extra help, or just have that time to focus. But having a time where we can utilize our makerspace a little bit more often, and a little bit more targeted, so they could connect it to the classwork that they're doing and use it for projects that they're working on. So we're going to try to do a little more of that, which I think is exciting. But I think that's probably the biggest highlight.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Erin? All right, next we have our Director of Student Services, Andy Trujillo, with his report for the month. Andy?
Good evening, members of the board. I have one item for your consideration this evening. It is our Power School Special Education Program. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education enters into an agreement with Power School Group to provide special programs. SECM is Special Education Case Management is what that stands for. Power School Special Program Section 504 for the 2023-24 school year in the amount of $14,440.80. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Next, we have Assistant Superintendent Jenny Pelko with the Human Resource Report. Jenny?
Thank you. I have the following items for your consideration under Human Resources this evening. Under number 1, we have reduction in force for a certificated staff member. Under 2, a resignation of a certificated staff member. Under 3, retirement for non-certificated staff member. Under 4, appointments for certificated staff. Under 5, we have, you met Lauren earlier, but the appointment for a leadership position. Under 6, appointments for non-certificated staff. Under 7, appointments for non-certificated summer learning. Under 8, appointment for administrative substitute. 9, appointments for certificated substitutes. 10, appointment for certificated district substitute. 11, we have the appointment for a non-certificated substitute. Under 12, changes in hours for non-certificated staff. 13, changes in status for non-certificated staff. Under 14, we have stipends for RBT training for 2 of our teachers. Under 15, we have a leave of absence for an administrative staff. 16, leave of absence for certificated staff. Under 17, leaves of absence for non-certificated staff. Under 18, we have unpaid leave for certificated staff. 19, we have many volunteers. Under 20, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education approves a 12-month contract for the purchase of Red Rover absence management and extra duty tracking software system at an annual cost of $24,243 plus the one-time setup and configuration fee of $3,000. This will replace our frontline absence management system. And under 21, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the amounts listed in the revised attached exhibit be paid to Strongsville City Schools personnel and non-personnel for performance as game workers for the 2022-2023 school year, amounts to be paid through arbiter pay from the athletic fund. And that concludes my report unless there are any questions for me.
Jenny, why the switch on the attendance software?
Many reasons, but I can highlight a few. I think the biggest thing for us is, and I think George will appreciate this too, because our departments often work together. I think one of the biggest changes is that it will talk better to eFinance, and the data that we need to, when people are absent and we need to share that data with George's office for different payments and things like that, it automatically will upload very nicely to his office and through eFinance. It actually is less expensive than Frontline, and which does allow us, even though it's higher cost, it's allowing us to add another piece, which is currently our timesheets are all on paper. And so each week I probably get a stack of this and I have to sign each one. It'd be nice for them to come through an approval process like we do all over the other things, to just sign off, quickly. And then it has a lot of other features, little nuances that we deal with and we have to do by hand. If somebody has multiple positions, we have to create like a fake person so that it can do 2 positions right now. It also has a mobile app for all employees. Our current one has a mobile app, but this one is more up to date. So for example, it will text our substitutes instead of calling them, which they dislike very much. So maybe that'll attract some more if they have an easier system for getting notified. Our third shift employees, they can't put an absence in, they work through the night, so they can't put absences in, in a timely manner, and this will allow them to do that. They don't have to do it, the day before. So I would say those are the main highlights of the system. It's just, a lot more user-friendly. And one last thing I'll say is that it allows us to look at the history in one click of an employee. So as we're approving absences, we can see, when their future ones are, like for vacation and things like that, who else is taking off that same day. So it allows more functionality in that and ease, so.
I don't know if I misheard you, but at one point you said it's less expensive, and then you said it's more cost.
It is less expensive than our current system is alone. So if you compare Red Rover and Frontline right now, Red Rover is cheaper. The reason it has to come to the board is what we're doing is we're adding the online timesheet system.
Okay.
So that's why it seems more expensive, but we're adding a whole nother piece to it that we don't have currently.
So apples to apples, the absent management Red Rover program is less expensive than what we're using now.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Jenny? All right, finally, we have Dave Binkley, our Director of Instructional Technology, with his report for the month. Dave?
I have 2 items for consideration tonight. Item number 1 is technology software, Bloxy, District Classroom Management and Student Safety Software System out of the 001 General Fund. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education approves entering into a 3-year contract for the purchase of Bloxy software, a tool designed to help monitor, share, and communicate with our students. The platform helps maintain compliance with the Children's Internet Protection Act, the SIPA, and annual cost is about $38,247. Terms of agreement include a 3-year bundle agreement discount. Contract dates are from May 24th, 2023 to May 24th, 2026. And item number 2 is the Power School Student Enrollment Registration from the 001 General Fund. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the renewal of the Power School Enrollment Registration License and subscription at the annual cost of $19,440.
Any questions for Dave?
Of course. Real quick, the Bloxy has a parent component to it?
Yes.
Do you have any? I'm curious if we're able to track how many parents are using it.
We should be, yes, we should, because parents have to link their students to them. It is replacing the current program that we are currently getting for free, which is no longer going to be free starting this summer. So we blocked it, or we combined it with a program that our teachers are using in the classroom to monitor students as well. So parents can sign up to get a weekly report that has a little bit more details about what the students have visited compared to what our current free program is doing.
Is that securely?
Yes.
So it is going to replace securely.
It's going to replace Securely. Securely is going from a free model to right now they're quoting a little bit over $6 per student, with some additional features. But this one, we were able to get a similar price for both the classroom management portion that our teachers using and the safety and security and filtering services with Bloxy.
So obviously it's something that we're going to want to help our parents learn about, and then I'd be interested to see how they're using it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Dave? All right, with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Next, we will move on to our board reports. Report on Polaris Career Center. Michelle.
Yes, thank you. Last week, on April 18th, so last Tuesday, we had a really excellent event at Polaris. It was the Outstanding Senior Recognition Dinner. So they invite student award winners from every school that's involved in Polaris, provide a really lovely dinner, cooked and created by the students in the culinary and baking programs there. And then they do a presentation of awards. So I wanted to share our congratulations with our students who were at this dinner. If my phone would cooperate. Sarah Affick in the cosmetology program, Marissa Masola in the medical professions program, Case McIntyre in the engineering program, Hannah Odatala in the pre-nursing program, Delia Urzicki in the construction trades, and I can't read the last name. Come on. And I will go back to that last student and give him extra shout out in just a minute when my phone cooperates. Oh, Nick Wilson in automotive technology. So congratulations to our 6 outstanding students from Polaris. And following that, we had our monthly meeting. 2 things of note from that. One, we're really excited that construction will begin on the new classroom for the pre-veterinary program. So if you've been over at Polaris before to see like the bakery or the cosmetology programs that have service-oriented programs, they have a big, it looks like a actual hair salon. When you go in, there's a desk and all that. Same with the bakery. There's a counter, cashier, the whole 9 yards. The pre-veterinary will also have a setup that'll look like a vet's office. So that construction will begin this summer, and it should be ready fall-ish for those students that are in that program. And secondly, last call, if your student is a rising middle schooler, so going into 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, go onto Polaris's website and search Camp Discovery. It is a day camp for students in middle school. They can kind of check out like mini versions of what Polaris has to offer. And compared to the other programs I've seen in the community, it is very affordable for a summer camp. So they are almost full. They were 2/3 full after 1 week. So if you want to check that out, I do it soon. It's a great opportunity for our students. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Michelle. Next, report on legislation. Rich.
Thank you. House Bill 33 was passed by the Ohio House of Representatives 2 days ago. Host of changes from the governor's original introduction. As far as K-12 education is concerned, there wasn't a ton of changes. The good news is the House version still maintains the commitment to the fair funding formula, so they're going to continue to increase the amount that the state provides for K-12 education, which is a good thing. And then the other one that I found interesting was that they're going to direct the Ohio Department of Education to develop ways to compare how different education avenues not work, but what is the, how do they do educating students? So it would be a way to compare charter schools, public schools, private schools, et cetera. And I think, you know, in an effort of transparency and giving parents information to make good decisions for their children, I think that's a step in the right direction. So those are the 2 big changes affecting K-12 education. It now goes to the Senate, where they get to determine their version, and then it'll go to, hopefully, conference, and the governor will eventually sign it. And that all has to be completed by June 30th to make sure they follow the rules. So we'll continue to pay attention and advocate for Strongsville K-12 education. Can I roll into City Council, or do you want to do City Council?
If you don't mind.
City Council did meet on Monday, April 17th, along with their usual course of business. They did have quite a bit of public comment, quite a few visitors from the south, quite a few visitors from Brunswick wanted to share their opinions and and ask some questions about the proposed interchange on I-71. So there were a number of Brunswick residents, and I wanted to compliment President Carbone. The council listened to everybody, listened respectfully, and then made sure to inform everyone that this is a long process and there will be plenty of opportunity for input and to work through it as a community and to make sure they do it well. But Jim did mention that, you know, this is a very early part of the process. It wasn't as if the law was passed and they're going to start breaking ground on an interchange in Brunswick tomorrow. This is just one step in a long journey, and he committed to the community to do that well and make sure the community has its input. So it was a good meeting overall. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Strongsville Education Foundation?
Yes. I had to make sure I had the right book. The Strongsville Education Foundation is having their big fundraiser, which is May 6th at the Ehrenfeld Center. It's called Jockeys and Juleps. They have a Kentucky Derby watch party followed by Night at the Races. It's really fun. I went last year. I encourage people to go. I don't think a lot of people realize what the foundation does, but they raise money for our kids. They give out grants, scholarships, and also fund a lot of our field trips. So they really do a lot. I always tell them they don't get enough credit. So if you want, go to their website, Strongsville Education Foundation. This year alone, they've given out $4,600 in grant money. So if you can, please support them. They support our kids. Thanks.
Thank you.
And then I think
PTA Council.
I went to my last PTA meeting for the year. They ended this year, and they will have an installation luncheon, which is Thursday, May 4th at J. Bella's. During that luncheon, they will honor the Helping Hand recipients and the T in PTA. The T in PTA went to Mike Griffin and PTA, what's the other one?
Helping Hands.
Helping Hands, thank you, Laura, went to Keith Simak, who is the maintenance man at the high school, and Mike is principal. So I want to congratulate both of them. That will be at their installation breakfast, and they will also honor their new president, Katie Hullabarger, and their vice president, Susan Thomas, vice president, Dr. Ryba, treasurer is still Hillary Yankella, recording secretary, Liz Jones, and corresponding secretary, Maggie Cosa. And I wanted to add that they enrolled in the Reflections program the PTA did. Katie Drake did a great job with it, and 2 of our students received awards from Columbus. The first one was Escorca Kearns. She's he or she, I'm not sure, is 7th grader at the middle school. The category was film, and he received Strongsville Middle School Award of Excellence. He will go on to compete in the National PTA Reflections Contest. And this was our first year. She did a great job. And the second girl, I think this was a girl, Ewan Kearns from Maraski. Her category was visual arts, and she got an honorable mention. So to those kids, great job. And to Katie Drake, who kind of spearheaded it, she did a great job, and it was a good reflection on our schools. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to our board committee reports. Finance Committee.
I don't think we met, but
No.
sometimes I lose track of the dates.
No, we didn't have a meeting, and currently we don't have one scheduled as
Okay,
yet.
so that'll be to be announced then. Similarly, with the policy committee, we haven't had a meeting, but there's got to be one coming.
Coming up soon.
All right, so we'll look forward to that.
Next up, the Facility Committee. They will be meeting on May 18th here at the Admin Building. Business Advisory Committee.
Our meeting last Friday, the 21st, was canceled, so we do not have one planned yet for next year.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is the adoption of the consent calendar. Action by the Board of Education in adoption of consent calendar at this point of the agenda means that all items appearing in this agenda denoted as type/action, which items constitute the consent calendar are adopted by one single motion unless a member of the board or the superintendent requests that such items be removed from the consent calendar and voted upon separately. Do I have any concerns? Nope. Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Stavcek, second by Mrs. Kilbane.
Take a vote.
Take a vote, I'm sorry. Yep.
Ms. Stavcek?
Yes.
Ms. Cobain?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
Motion passes. Superintendent's timely information.
Thank you, Ms. Hausum. George will put some slides up to highlight some of the great work going on by our students and teachers across the district. The first stop we're going to go to is at the elementary school, at Whitney Elementary School. Our first grade team, they were reading and writing about different animals and their habitats. And after doing some research about what they ate, their shelter, and a variety of different things, they broke into groups and had to decide what kind of habitat would best suit that animal. What would they eat? How would they get water? Where would they have shelter? And they were given a variety of typical classroom materials to build those habitats and use it in a creative way. So just a phenomenal job by our first grade team and our students to really exemplify our model Mustang competencies about being innovative, collaborative, and resilient. And I know it's a little tough to see in there, but just some great creativity by our kids to apply what they've been learning and putting some hands-on activities to place to bring it to life. Moving on to the middle school, Ms. Boys, who's a high school family consumer science teacher, visited the middle school this past week to talk to them about fashion sustainability. I learned this. This will be the 60 seconds coming up tomorrow, but I learned what fast fashion was. If you don't know, fast fashion is almost like disposable clothes, right? People are one-time use. And so the impact on a variety of, what's that?
We're just laughing. I see no problem with that. Jenny and I are on it.
I didn't want to share how some of my colleagues fall into that, but so anyway, it was a great lesson for them to learn about the impacts of the fashion industry on our global environment, and that's one of the areas of focus we have is that global perspective through our model Mustang. And so this was a great opportunity for our students to learn the impact that their purchasing has on the global environment to build an awareness there. So thank you for Ms. Boyes to come down to the middle school and share that knowledge with our middle school students. And then finally at the high school, our English 9th grade honors class, Ms. Riblett's class, they had an opportunity. I think these are all great things. I had the opportunity to go on this field trip, a part of the field trip with the kids. So the idea was we've got so many great amenities and opportunities in Strongsville. How do we create a welcome guide from a teenager's perspective for our city? So they're currently in the process of selecting a category that they may want to focus on, whether it be local sweets or eats or unique places with interesting histories. They're creating a website. And so far, they've, through pictures and videos and write-ups, over 28 places. So this is this project-based learning experience. They also did a model. So this was what I thought was really cool. Instead of Ms. Riblett saying, hey, here's the experience, go research and create this, she modeled it first. So she said, let's take a field trip. This was with the help of Carol McKnight, our literacy coach, and Jessica Frenchick, another one of our coaches. They worked together and put together, let's go to the Garden View Horticultural Park. I've worked in Strongsville for like 20 plus years. I've driven past that place over and over, and I never knew what was behind that gray wall. But it's a beautiful garden that's back there that's open to the community. I think there's a donation cost to go take a walk through the gardens. I would highly recommend it. But they went through the Horticultural Park, the Historical Society, and the Freedom Trail, and they modeled about how would we write about this in a welcome guide, how would we use pictures, how would we put this on a website, and now they took that learning to apply it to their own unique place. So I thought that was a pretty cool experience for the students, and at least at the Horticultural Park where I was able to be with them, they truly enjoyed their time there. And then finally, just some dates coming up. It's that time of year for student awards, and athletic postseason play will be starting relatively soon, and music concerts throughout. So the slides are linked to the agenda, and you could see the dates and times here for a variety of academic recognitions at the high school, and arts concerts, music concerts and orchestra concerts at the elementary schools and high school. And just remember that you can view these on demand. We try to get to all of them as long as we're not double booked, but on demand on SCS TV. So with that, that concludes the updates for timely information.
Thank you. It's hard to believe that we're down to our last month.
Yeah, last 4 weeks.
Great. Next up, Board of Education Other. Do I have any others? Hearing none. Meeting notification. A regular Board of Education meeting work session will be held Thursday, May 11th, 2023 at 7 p.m. in the meeting room of the Administration Building, 18199 Cook Avenue, Strongsville, Ohio. And a regular Board of Education meeting will be held Thursday, May 25th, 2023 at 7 p.m. in the auditorium of Strongsville High School, 20025 Lund Road, Strongsville, Ohio. I'm glad I just read that out loud so that I can mark my calendar. Executive session. We do have need for executive session to discuss the topics of
To consider the employment of a public employee, to review negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment, and to consider matters required to be kept confidential by federal law or regulations or state statutes.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Stavcik, second by Mrs. Kilbane. Any discussion? Hearing none. George, can you take the roll?
Ms. Stavcik?
Yes.
Ms. Cobain?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mrs. Hausum?
Yes.
And Mrs. Bissell?
Yes.
We will enter into executive session at approximately 9 o'clock, and we do not foresee having need to continue in public. Everyone have a great night.